You're listening to Your Brain on Air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy. আপনি Your Brain on Air শুনছেন। অনুষ্ঠানটি শীঘ্রই শুরু হবে। উপভোগ করুন।
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Vogt Larson, and welcome back to the only podcast brave enough to say it. Weinstein might have been the best of all of them because at least the women were of age and got to be in Lord of the Rings. I'd call it a pretty good deal at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. I am so glad to be back with you for the Thursday show. I mean, there's so much we could talk about, right? There's a lot going on in the zeitgeist, a lot we can't avoid. If you are an American, if you're just a citizen, if you're a person of the world, there's so much news out there. And I'm sure you're coming to me, the Oracle, and you're going, what's important? Sort it out for me. Don't worry, I already have. We've begun. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start it with probably the most important story of the day. My goodness, the list of people facing scrutiny over the Epstein files is continuing to grow. And unfortunately, we got to talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. The Jewish supremacist group at the center of it all is becoming exposed. That's not very good, ladies and gentlemen. I must warn, good goys, this episode is not for you, and if you're not going to be a fan of it, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a good goy, turn around right now. Good goys, they do not question the files, they eat their McDonald's, they go to their service jobs, so if you're a good goy, go no further. This is all I can say. Let's begin our first story. The fallout from the Department of Justice's massive document drop, it's continuing to grow, as you all know. We got ABC News talking about it. Every mainstream media outlet can't avoid it anymore. At this point, it's too big to ignore. It became too big to ignore right around the time that, I know when he killed himself, a bunch of people, they made memes about it. Sure, maybe like 45% of the population took it really seriously. A little bit from both sides, you know what I mean? Some of them were too normie to even really hear much about it. Some of them were just like, you know, all I'm trying to say is that it's unignorable now. Epstein is at the front of everybody's knowledge. If you knew about it from 2019, congratulations. If you knew about it even earlier than then, if you were a fan of Alex Jones and you knew about him even earlier than then, well, then you've been probably waiting for everybody to catch up, to the common knowledge, which, you got to give him credit. When he's right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and just talk about everything that we are realizing with this. The release was intended to provide a lot of transparency under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, but the sheer volume of data, it sparked a fresh wave of scrutiny. High-profile figures, names like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Peter Mandelson, they're all back in headlines right now. New details are emerging regarding their historical correspondence and interactions with the late financier. They have maintained they were never involved or aware of any of his criminal activities, which, guys, I don't want to make this a Jewish thing, and let's not try to do that. Let's make this just about the people who appear in these files, many of which just so happen to be Jewish or serve the World Jewish Congress directly in some minor way or whatever. There's just a lot of things that just maybe connect, this community for some odd reason. And listen, I'm not saying anything about Jews as a whole. That's not what this is about. I'm saying it is an odd coincidence that the majority of the people that are coming out of these files that are showing to have had these back and forth correspondences with Jeffrey Epstein, referring to the rest of non-Jews as goyim. It's a very, very, that seems like the more racist thing here, to not call out the emails where they are referring to everyone who is not Jewish as another term. That seems like the real racism here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to go past a couple of the key figures that we've already discovered. Here's a couple of the political, legal, diplomatic figures that we've discovered. Ehud Barak, if you don't know, former Israeli prime minister. Records show dozens of visits to Epstein's Manhattan residence and traveled on his private jet routinely. Alan Dershowitz, if you are a 90s, 80s baby, you know what I mean? That's probably a name that a lot of you know. He's a high-profile attorney, frequently mentioned in flight logs and legal depositions, He remains one of the most vocal figures contesting the narrative around the unsealed files. files. Kathy Ruemmler, former White House counsel, files reveal over 30 scheduled meetings with Epstein after she left the Obama administration, primarily regarding the legal and business networking that she had. Interesting enough, Stuart Eisenstadt, former U.S. ambassador to the EU, mentioned in the emails regarding invitations to social gatherings. Michael Steinhardt, billionaire philanthropist and co-founder of Birthright Israel, his name appears in contact lists and social logs. Dan Senor, Senor, he's a political advisor and author of Startup Nation. He's mentioned in correspondences regarding networking dinners. And then Joshua Bolton, he's a former White House chief of staff. He's mentioned in scheduling logs for a lot of social events. There's obviously a lot of business, finance, and tech people we have. Leslie Wexner, as if you don't know him, Les Wexner, he's the founder of L Brands. He has a lot of ties to, if you don't know, Victoria's Secret, right? Am I going to need to check my facts around this? Wexner... Victoria's Secret. Yes, exactly. He's connected to Victoria's Secret. He's high up in the business place. He was Epstein's primary benefactor for decades. He gave him a house. That's the most interesting thing. He granted him power of attorney and a lot of significant assets throughout their entire friendship. Whatever, you know what? He just so happened to be leading a woman's fashion brand. That's chill. Glenn Dubin and Eva Anderson Dubin. They're a hedge fund billionaire and his wife. The Dubbins were close social associates. Eva, a physician, reportedly maintained a long-term friendship with Epstein. Ariane de Rothschild, does that sound familiar? Chair of the Edmund de Rothschild's group. Details in the emails show her coordinating business meetings and purchasing items for Epstein. Leon Black, co-founder of the Apollo Global Management. He paid Epstein $158 million for tax and estate planning services between 2012 and 2017. Jeff Blau, as in Blau. He's the CEO of related companies. He's mentioned in calendars regarding real estate discussions and social meetings. Mortimer Zuckerman, he's a media mogul and a real estate billionaire. His name appears in flight logs and contact lists. Sergey Brin, he's a Google co-founder. He's mentioned in documents related to Epstein's attempts to advise JP Morgan on high net worth clients. Bill Ackman, that is a very familiar name. He's a hedge fund manager. He's mentioned multiple times in emails regarding a meeting at MIT involving Joy Ito. Joy as in Joi, Ito, T-O. That's clearly, I believe, a Japanese name. Rodney Ahrens, A-H-R-E-N-S. I apologize if I'm struggling with some of these names. Hedge fund manager, former associate of Epstein. Academics, scientists, intellectuals. We got another list of them. Noam Chomsky, if you don't know this individual, renowned academic. Files show that he met with Epstein to discuss various political and academic projects. Leon Botstein, he's a president of Bard College, scheduled numerous meetings to solicit donations for the arts and education. Marvin Minsky, MIT scientist, he's mentioned in Virginia Guthrie, we pronounce it that way on this show. He was a frequent guest of Epstein's science conferences, which, you know, I don't know if there were midgets doing math for Stephen Hawking. We can't guarantee any of that. Lawrence Krauss, he's a physicist, frequent traveler on Epstein's jet and participant in many of the sponsored science retreats. Larry Summers, he's a former Harvard president. Emails show... God, you have to forgive me. I'm talking so much, I just need a minute. I'm going to drink some water for a second. All right, Larry Summers, former president of Harvard. I mean, very curious. Emails show a persistent social and professional link, including requests for Epstein to help his wife's nonprofit. Very curious. Martin Nowak, a Harvard math professor, received significant funding from Epstein and was a frequent contact. Seth Lloyd, MIT professor, accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations from Epstein and visited him in prison, interestingly enough. Gerald Edelman, Nobel Prize winning biologist, mentioned as a contact for various scientific, agencies and shit. Media and entertainment and arts, Woody Allen, we don't even have to say it, director. He was frequently cited on the flight logs and the dinner guest lists in New York. David Copperfield, magician, as you all know, goofy guy, made the Statue of Liberty disappear. Your parents can tell you about him. Harvey Weinstein, he's a disgraced film mogul, as you all are familiar with. Steve Tisch, he was the film producer and New York Giants co-owner. He is included having this weird correspondence where he's like, oh, is it a working girl? Oh, interesting. Peggy Seigel, legendary Hollywood publicist, she admitted to helping Epstein re-enter social circles following his 2008 conviction. Zach Perlman, a world-renowned violinist, is mentioned in logs regarding invitations to social and charitable functions. Ladies and gentlemen, and these people all happen to be Jewish. It's just a bizarre coincidence. It's a really strange thing that all this happens. I'm just going to give my voice a break, and let's watch this clip from ABC News.
And the chairman of a prominent law firm is stepping down over his association with Jeffrey Epstein. Paul Weiss law chair Brad Karp says in a statement, quote, recent reporting has created a distraction and has placed a focus on me that's not in the best interest of the firm. The firm says Karp will remain with the firm, just in a different role. Senior Washington reporter Will Staken is here for more. Hi, Will. So what's the latest on this growing list of prominent people facing scrutiny over the Epstein files?
It's all fake.
Yeah, Dan, well, I think, Mr. Karp right here is kind of the latest fallout from these Epstein files. Like you said, the really powerful law firm Paul Weiss announced that Mr. Karp would be stepping down after his name appeared in these files. Now, the law firm did not give a reason why Mr. Karp is stepping down, and previously the law firm denied Mr. Karp had any wrongdoing, but with this release of these files, his name appears in the files, mostly with his assistant trying to schedule meetings with Mr. Epstein, but there's an email between Mr. Karp and Epstein where he's asking about if he could help, get his son some kind of job in an upcoming Woody Allen film. So I think these emails, obviously are continuing to have fallout across, widespread industries. It's kind of the latest fallout here. We saw recently that popular wellness influencer Peter Attia also stepped down from his role at the protein company.
Peter Attia, no.
So what are you watching for next?
Yeah, I think next, obviously I think the focus should be on the victims here and what happens there. If there's new revelations that come out, there's still, millions of files. We have an incredible team here that's continuing to go through them. But I also think we're going to have to look at the political file. The president clearly wants to move on. He said that repeatedly. He thinks this is over. But there's people in his base, in the MAGA base, who are not satisfied. They want prosecutions. And obviously what we're seeing now...
I don't think it's just the MAGA base, guys. Let's be honest here. A lot of people are going to call you crazy if you bring up any facts. They're going to go, no, it was just a coincidence. Ghislaine Maxwell, her father, confirmed Mossad agent. If you don't know anything about Robert Maxwell, you should really look into him. He owned one of the biggest papers in the UK for the longest time. Died on a yacht, allegedly had a heart attack, fell off the edge. Weird. It's just a coincidence that Jeffrey Epstein received a hero's honor in Israel. He had a Mossad agent living in his house for weeks. He had direct contact with Israeli operatives. We can prove it. And Americans, good goys, little-minded people will look at you. They'll tell you you're insane for questioning the billionaire Zionist propaganda, which is a lot of this, unfortunately. This is only because the majority of your parents' generation, their parents, and whatnot, they've been Holocaust pilled. The idea is you can never question groups that may practice Jewish supremacy the way that you may question white supremacist groups, because any mention of organized Jewry may eventually slippery slope argument, another Holocaust. This is why you can never try to discuss this meaningfully with, any older generations in the sense where if you are becoming aware of all of this sort of stuff, you could try to communicate this to your parents' generation or maybe your grandparents' generation. There's going to be a level, they'll think at a certain point you've gone too far left or right. They'll be like, oh, you are a free Palestine person, you want all the Jews to die, or they're going to be like, you're a Nazi and you want all the Jews to die. When really you're just trying to talk about organized groups that are practicing supremacy, where if they believe they are supreme to you and every other person, they believe that you should be in their words, in their own emails, a servant class, and It's just a very curious reaction to give. Any pushback, by the way, any pushback you get from this, that you're engaging in anti-Semitism just for reading files that they never will and saying the truth out loud, any pushback you get from them, from telling these people the truth is their good goy programming coming out to shoot you down. It's deep, guys. It's in the public school system. It's been in the books since it started coming out after the war. It's not wrong to say that the Jews have been persecuted. It's not wrong to say that that meaningfully over a long period of time. 109 countries banned from a lot of them. What I'm trying to say is that, yes, they have absolutely been an oppressed group. What that can result in is certain dialects, certain versions, certain diasporas, certain people that belong to the community, believing, actually, no, we belong to the most, we have the most Nobel Prizes. We are, per capita, the smartest people. Ashkenazi Jews, per capita, always rank with the highest IQs. That can lead to a feeling of supremacy, where eventually, if you get an organized system, Jeffrey Epstein, very high up there Jew, you can get people that have a commonality where they go, hey, we are serving our own. We are serving our people. Jeffrey Epstein said, only hire Jews if you want good bankers. That's what he said. That's his emails. And what I'm trying to say is, this is not an indictment of all Jewish people. This is not an anti-Semitic rant. This is not anything like that. This is meaningfully looking at the documents that a lot of people will never read. They will never look at any of these emails. They will tell you that, Jeffrey Epstein was a creepy billionaire, Bruce Wayne type, who bought a bunch of girls and had sex with them, and then that's it. That's the end of the story, end of it. That's it. That's all that they will tell you. And what I'm trying to say is, try to expand their mind a teensy bit more. Maybe if people, are questioning you a little bit, you can show them videos like this regarding Epstein's, quote unquote, baby farm that is alleged to have existed. And if you if you want to show them, you can show them his ranch that he had, or you can show them this video that I will link in the description.
So this is one of the most disturbing things I've ever read in my life. And it raises the question, was Jeffrey Epstein impregnating young children in order to force them to have kids that would then be brought into the world of sex trafficking and pedophile rings from a newborn? Or I should say from the age of newborn, or whatever you'd say. So these are screenshots from a journal of one of Epstein's victims, and the girl talks a lot in coded language. As you can see here, this is kind of how she wrote, and she writes in these journals, but it's a pretty easy code to decipher. I deciphered a bunch of these pages. But the really disturbing thing throughout these journals is that she talks about multiple perpetrators. She names perpetrator, like the executives at AOL, Leon Black, a good friend of Epstein's. There are many more too. But this girl constantly talks about death, about murder, about her babies being taken away from her, about her being forced into these traumatic procedures that were extremely gruesome and bloody. There are also pictures of what I can assume are potentially her babies,
like sonograms.
And yeah, I mean, you can pause and read all of these pages. There are so many of them. I just spent the last hour reading through these journals for a video that I'm producing on my channel, and I was on the verge of tears throughout most of it. I mean, it's really, this is horrific stuff. Some of the pages she has drawn to and splattered with ink like this, or like this with some of her code. Here are some of the pages translated, though. Tomorrow is the halfway ultrasound for Jeffrey. This one stuck. After they took the first baby who survived in the early miscarriage, I think it was called, I no longer feel like a person but a vessel. Will they take this one too? Who has the first one? Where did Ghislaine go? I can't let myself get attached. My body feels so tired. Will I ever be free? So then in another page of coded writing, she writes, I am such a monster. I didn't console her. I can't unhear her screams. They haunt me. I couldn't even bring myself to look at her. I am a monster. I deserve to be haunted by her screams. I am so sorry. I am so broken. Another page here, she describes the doctor who was from Israel, and she describes the procedure. This was different, a shot, and those rod-like things had a hook and so much pain. Blood and water all over the bed, and she was wrecked, like a feeling when your tummy hurts and you have to push. I saw her fingers, this tiny head and body in the doctor's hands. It reached its tiny arm up and had a tiny foot. I closed my eyes and no more. No more cries. I don't understand. Just say these things happen. They yelled and screamed, and he said it will be the same in a couple of months. I don't understand what is going on. I can't go to school like this. I can't stop shaking. Yeah, so to me it sounds like this girl was being impregnated over and over again, starting at the age of probably 13 or 14, and then when she was having these babies, they were being taken from her and immediately brought into the world of a pedophile ring or sex trafficking organization. There are so many things in these journals that are so twisted. Let me know if you want me to talk more about these.
Yes, I'd love for you to talk more about them. I'd love for people to talk more about this in general. People need to talk about the fact that he had a trap door that apparently led to the ocean in Epstein's mansion. This is real. This is a photo that you can look up for yourself. I'll leave it in the description once again. I won't play the video for you because you won't get the visual reference, but it's literally just an open chasm that it's down in and it looks like submarine access potentially, but who knows? No one really knows. But one thing that I do know is that well-known people that I'm not gonna say what faith he belongs to, but individuals like Ben Shapiro have said things like his loyalty to America is hinged on its defense and support of Israel. Like, let me be honest. I expected him to be a little more level-headed. I expected him to have a good take on this, and everything that I heard from his mouth on this latest episode of his was goy slop. It was unfortunately something just to put the masses at ease. Let's listen to it ourselves.
A lot of people are looking for the connection between the Jeffrey Epstein story, the saga, the details that are now coming out, and what that means about, quote-unquote, who runs our world. Now, there are a lot of very powerful people whose names have been mentioned in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal.
All my friends.
People who are hanging out, hobnobbing with Jeffrey Epstein. People who are asking dating advice, like Lauren Summers, former president of Harvard. Or people who are apparently soliciting visits to Epstein parties, or whom Epstein was soliciting to go to his parties, including people like Elon Musk. Obviously, Jeffrey Epstein was friendly with Bill Clinton. There was a time early on in his life, earlier, when he was friendly with Donald Trump. All of that is true. Now, the leap that some people are making is that this means that Epstein was manipulating all of these powerful people through blackmail with regard to sex. That is not in evidence. If that
is not
turns out to
evidence.
be in evidence, then we'll happily report on it. That is not what so far has come out. And the reason I'm making this distinction is because it is, in fact, a deeply important thing that some of the most powerful people in our society act in morally depraved ways.
You know what this is? This is Israel defend. Israel is good for America. Israel helps keeps us safe. Israel is the reason that your children can go to school. Israel is the knock it off.
Godless,
Jesus.
virtue-free ways, hanging out with some of the worst people in our society, people they know to be trafficking in women who are very, very young, if not in minors. When it comes to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, what was criminally indicted was the trafficking of underage girls for Epstein's own use. There have yet to be legally verifiable allegations that girls who are underage were trafficked to people who are not Jeffrey Epstein, or by Ghislaine Maxwell to people not Jeffrey Epstein. The Epstein files, there are none. There's no credible.
The Epstein files, there are none. A very famous clip from his. I do think it is very bizarre that when you, this is another just bizarre coincidence, that Savannah Guthrie's mom is missing and whatnot. Is it possibly related to the fact that Savannah Guthrie is mentioned in the files? I don't know. That is very curious. If you don't know about that, this might be like a distraction or something like that. But they mention literally her one of her interviews that she's had.
So it's not a coincidence that Savannah Guthrie interviewed Virginia Guthrie and other Epstein victims. Her mom has gone missing, and she's in the Epstein drop, the recent one. Yeah, they were watching her. She's mentioned 9 times. Savannah's interview with victims is mentioned multiple times in the Epstein files. Here we read she's done another interview with blank. And my guess, this redacted blank over here is Virginia Guthrie, who allegedly committed suicide. Plan to air it on the Today Show and Friday's Dateline. And here is that Dateline interview with Virginia Guthrie conducted by Savannah. And Savannah's mom goes missing 2 days after these files drop. Now being reported that Savannah Guthrie's mom's pacemaker stopped syncing with her Apple Watch. Back to the email. It says, she said the following. She said she was interviewed by FBI in 2011 by a redacted name. In the interview, she gave the names of all the girls she helped to traffic. She was also interviewed by SDNY. And 2 other women also tell DOJ that Epstein specifically trafficked them to, quote, other men. There are cameras in the NYC house and others where he could watch people in bathrooms and elsewhere. Heart goes out to Savannah. I can't imagine what she's going through. Signs of forced entry and kidnapping have been reported. Reward is being offered for info leading to an arrest.
Yeah. I think that has anything to do with the fact that her mother is missing? Maybe. Is it worth investigating? Probably. You know what I think is just bizarre? That people don't want to talk about this because I think in general people are taken in by what many would call goy slop, unfortunately. David Stern, if that name doesn't sound very familiar with you, that's probably a good thing. It shouldn't, actually. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't know who David Stern is. You shouldn't be familiar with his product. You shouldn't be familiar with any of it. And if you just recognize it based on the name, that's not a good sign. It means that you're deep in the goy slop. Like, it's not good. He's the former commissioner, if you don't know, of the NBA from 1984 to 2014, and yes, happens to be a Jew, but that's okay. No, chill. I have no issue. That's like, I wouldn't have an issue with that alone, but I have an issue with this. He referred to all NBA fans as goyim in his emails to Jeffrey Epstein. That personally bothers me a little bit. Stern was commissioner of the NBA for 30 years, and every one of you tuning in is logging in for your daily dose of sit on the couch, get fat, eat your goy slop, watch your goy slop, and don't accomplish anything. Don't engage in arts or creativity. Don't build anything. Don't research. Don't create anything that may outlast you. Just sit, consume, and be a good goy who heads to work every day, who is having your internal fire quenched through meaningless filth like former gangbangers tossing around a ball or wife beaters running in a touchdown. And then, ignore the fact that the people who own the teams, your heroes, not really your heroes, maybe you don't even know them either. The New York Giants co-owner, Stephen Titch, is sending emails arranging women for him to meet back in 2013. Guys, this is the start of the start. We are only just beginning. Wait until you get into the emails where Jeffrey Epstein discusses giving people supernatural abilities through psychological stress, cloning people. He even discusses the designer babies that we talked about a few episodes back that I believe he's referencing, manufacturing the perfect baby through DNA splicing. He discusses something involving patients experiencing something called stage 3. These are people apparently developing an entirely new perspective of reality and quote-unquote discovering gifts that they never knew that they have. Someone named Brian Bishop emailed Jeffrey detailing over, quote, the use of funds spreadsheet for the designer baby and human cloning company. Quote, this gets us out of the self-funded garage biology phase and the first live birth of a human designer baby and possibly of a human clone within 5 years. Newly available to support my final theory here is that he was an operative for some agency is the photo. I would love to provide this photo in the description for you, and I believe that I can find a way to. It's Jeffrey in the recent triage of documents wearing an IDF sweatshirt. And if you don't know what the IDF is, what is the IDF, good little goy? It is the Israeli Defense Force, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to be as kind as I am as I can be when I say it. There is a form of a world Jewish mafia that is acting under the cover of Mossad, the Israeli government. Listen, the way that Italian mafias operated and took over New York, there is a level to a degree now. It's proven. It's in the documents. It's there. There is a level of control that has always been exercised over every individual of the Western world, it seems, with either the price gouging, the world banks, everything involving those. And unfortunately, it's rich people in general you can blame it as. Yes, it is. You can call it rich people. It's white people doing this, black people doing this, every one of them. Asians are great at it. We've already proven that with a lot of the schemes that we've covered on this show. But what we're saying here is, it is not at all anti-Semitic. It is not at all in any way calling for a new Holocaust. To just simply say there is clearly a web of Jewish supremacy underneath all of the Jeffrey Epstein stuff that is networked throughout every leverage of power, everywhere in the media, everywhere in the finance industry, in the business world. There is something there that unfortunately conspiracy theorists have been trying to tell us this whole time, and a lot of people weren't waking up to it. And unfortunately, I didn't. Does anybody want this to be the case? Does anybody sit on their couch and go like, yeah, I was right the whole time. Yeah, I wanted to be the fucking global elitist pedophiles. I wanted to be... No one is thinking this. And a lot of people are thinking, they're going, I bet the conspiracy theorists feel great right now. No, they're living in the same world as you. They still have to go to work. They still have to get woken up by an alarm every morning. They still have to get dressed. They still have to pack a lunch. They still have to get in a car. They still have to go to work. They still have to do the motions to serve people who always will have more money than them. That is just a fact of life at this point. That is where we are in the world. And we have to appreciate listen, the sun rose this morning and I had a great cup of coffee and life is still beautiful. We are alive and the world is still, it's at our feet. That is the beauty we cannot forget, that life is beautiful and it's fucking there and we got to get it. We just got to take it. But what we have to realize is, yes, people aren't crazy for saying that there's greater leverages of power, and maybe they're not so crazy. Maybe they're not so crazy when they're out there on Reddit, 4chan, the deep corners of the internet, saying that there is a cabal of baby eaters. At this point, maybe there is, and we just got to believe it. I'm sorry this is the case. I'm sorry that this is what the files say. I'm sorry this is the truth. It's the truth. It's facts. We only deal in facts here. Except for when I want to have fun, ladies and gentlemen. And speaking of fun, I know that we're going to have to cover another story that isn't any more fun, meaningfully. It's not going to make us any more joyous, but it's important. We need to cover it, and we're already a half hour into this, so let's move on to the second story, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, Savannah Guthrie and siblings have pled for her mother's return in a new video, and apparently, and this is just out of recent words, Savannah Guthrie's brother-in-law is the prime suspect in the mother's disappearance. This video, I watched it. Yeah, clearly it's deeply personal. A lot of news outlets, they released it so we could watch it Wednesday night. Today's Show co-anchor, I called her CBS anchor accidentally in my first video. Sorry, no disrespect, I just don't know her very well. Savannah Guthrie and her siblings, Annie and Cameron, they made a direct plea for the safe return of their 84-year-old mother, Nancy, flanked by her brother and her sister. A visibly emotional Savannah addressed the suspected captors directly. She acknowledged the reports of a ransom demand and stated, "We are ready to talk." However, she issued one firm condition: the family needs proof of life. Citing the dangers of modern AI, deepfake technology, Savannah insisted on hearing her mother's voice or seeing a verified image to ensure that Nancy is still alive. Smart of her, you know what I mean? We're going to go over the video ourselves because a lot of people are going, oh, the brother, he's emotionless. That means he did it. I'm not saying that. I never said that, but like, kind of a good point a little bit. Like, I'm just saying the urgency, guys, of the appeal. Apparently it's also being underscored by the fact that she's basically out of time. We already heard the ticking time bomb during the first episode of this saga that she has 10 hours or whatever, but she needs this medication. She has fragile health. The siblings, they shared in the video that her mother lives in constant pain. She's currently living without life-saving medication that she requires daily. Quote, "She needs it to survive," Savannah pleaded, while her sister Annie referred to Nancy as the family's beacon and, quote, light. The video has quickly gone viral. It's really desperate, honestly. That's the vibe that I'm getting from this, is just absolute desperation. The family is pleading for mercy. The investigation has taken on a controversial and speculative turn. The Pima County Sheriff Department has officially stated they have no suspects or persons of interest. Rumors have been swirling around Savannah's brother-in-law, Tommaso Cioni. Reports suggest that Cioni, who is married to Savannah's sister Annie, was the last person to see Nancy alive when he dropped her off after a family dinner Saturday night. Interesting. Despite intense online speculation and reports family vehicles being impounded for forensic testing, Sheriff Chris Nanos has urged the public to stop spreading, quote, unverified accusations, emphasizing that the focus has to remain on finding Nancy. I would agree. That's why we need to consider everybody. Listen, let's be really, really, really honest. Either it is Israel coming over to punish Savannah because she interviewed a bunch of Epstein victims back in 2019. You can see it in the files. Back in September, they were like, she just did another one. She just did another one with whoever. I'm guessing that the redacted bar was Virginia Giuffre. And whatever. Maybe it's Israel coming to punish Savannah and steal her mother. Maybe they're going to blame it on, like, Azbani terrorists, and this is going to be the excuse to get us into Iran or something. You know what I mean? Maybe this is Israel's plan all along. We don't know. Or... And let's be really, really honest here. It's somebody that this woman knew, because in 9 out of 10, I'm actually gonna round it up. 99 out of 100 cases like this, it is someone that the woman knew personally. It is someone that the mother knew, someone that they knew that they would be able to get some money out of. They'd be able to get Bitcoin. They'd be able, whatever, some untraceable dollar amount. What I'm trying to say is that the majority of the cases that you look at here, it is someone that she, like, maybe it's a live-in nurse, maybe it's a whatever, maybe very likely it is one of the family members. And I'm sorry, but that's borne out by the facts. It's borne out by the evidence. So I'm actually going to put this in the description if you want to look at it yourself, get a good view. But we're going to look at this video of her and her siblings, and I'm going to break it down here. The amateur body language expert. I don't even care. People are going to go, body language experts shouldn't even be breaking it down, let alone an amateur. And I'm going to go, fuck you. This is my show. I'm having fun.
Kirk, let's play more of just that heart-wrenching video from Savannah Guthrie and her siblings. Take a listen.
Take a listen.
Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance.
Wait a minute. I think that this is not the entire clip. I need the entire clip. That's the thing. I need the entire thing, because otherwise I won't be able to break it down. I won't be able to give my full review. All right, I'm going to find the entire thing because I really need that. That's what I need. All right, I think I found it.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them.
Okay, first things first. Savannah, I've reviewed the footage. I've seen it one time before. No notes on the acting. If you're acting, I really believe you. My heart hurts when I see this video of you. I like, it's Oscar worthy. It's 10 out of 10. The sister, 5 out of 10. It needs some work. It's a little, who's the woman from Twilight? It's a little Kristen Stewart. It's a little flat. It's a little wooden. It's like, Mama, we need you to come home. It's very like, okay. With your sister, she's leaning forward. You can see that she just doesn't look to shout. She doesn't look good. I'm going to be honest with you. Normally, Savannah Guthrie, at least she has her hair done. At least whatever, she has the Mr. Beast smile on. She's literally not doing any of that. Meanwhile, I'm just going to say it. John Lovitz to the right over there, he's 1 out of 10. The acting is awful. You hear nothing from this guy until the very, very end of the video, which is ridiculous in my point of view. Like, why would you even sit with your sisters and then only at the very end go, "We love you, Mom. Miss you. Stay strong." Like, it's so... I think you did it. If I see this stuff, I'm like... And by the way, it doesn't help that you look like John Lovitz. I expect him to go, do a little goofy... no! I expect him to have a funny accent. You know what I mean? I'll continue.
And we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light.
We love our mother.
She's funny and spunky and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure.
I would have assumed that she loves adventure based on this.
She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon.
Dude, look at John Lovitz. He's raising an eyebrow to this. He's like, "Really, girls? Come on. Let's pull it together."
She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day.
Joy.
Despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief,
This
we are
sucks.
always going to be merely human. Just normal.
I'm only
people.
human after
We are
all.
Mom. Mama. Mama,
Mama.
if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
You think she's not trying? Really? You're gonna make a plea to her directly? We need you to come home, okay? We contacted the school. We're very upset. We need you to come home. We're not gonna punish. You're talking to her like she's a student. Knock it off. Like, you're her kids. You, like, don't step out of line, all right? I'm kind of with John Lovitz. I'm kind of like with the brother where I'm like, these loony gals. Like, I understand. They're very emotional. Maybe they wrote this themselves. Honestly, it feels like the FBI wrote it. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from this. This does not feel like something they would have written themselves. Kind of feels like the sister is being forced to read this a little bit. She's going like, Mama. She's reading it like it's her first time in acting, honestly. Only love to the family.
Our heart and our home. She's 84 years old.
Damn.
Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain.
Damn.
She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. And she needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us.
Yeah, the sister's heavy breathing, like she's mad to read this statement. Like, she does not want, and I can tell that this is probably an FBI statement because they're like, look, we have to make it look like we're ready to negotiate here because that's how we're going to lure these people in. And the sister looks like she doesn't want to appear weak. She looks like this is killing her to have to do this, but she's clearly got her mom on her mind and she's willing to do this for her. I don't know.
Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere.
I've been looking everywhere. I checked my cabinets. I looked around the corner. I went down the street. I couldn't find her anywhere, honestly. I've been giving it my best shot, but like it's just like my area.
We will not rest.
I won't.
Your children.
I mean, I'm gonna have to eat at some point, but like I'm gonna still try. Hopes and prayers.
Not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment. And we pray without ceasing. And we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong. Like, I get it, kinda, but I'm also like, you did it. Like, throw him in handcuffs right now. He did it. I'm sorry. This is a satirical show. We're having fun. You know what I mean? But, like, listen, this is a clearly tragic situation. But just, yuck. Like, Savannah, 10 out of 10 performance. Like I said, she did really great. Sister, 5 out of 10. It was mid-tier. And then brother, 0 out of 10. Like, you had the full spectrum of acting here. It was really impressive to see. Is that the end of the video? Yes, it is. That is it. They're saying the brother-in-law is the prime suspect. Is he? Maybe.
First at 6:30 as the search intensifies for the...
Oh, shit. I was playing a video from KTLA 5, which is LA News, you know what I mean? And apparently, that video is now unavailable. Well, shit. Apparently, it was just discussing the fact that people are going, well, he was the last one to see her, so he might have thrown her in a ditch. So I go, maybe I don't know who did it. If I have to put my money on it right now, it would be one of the siblings, not Savannah herself at this point. I don't think she Fargoed her own mom. I think that one of the siblings maybe did, but maybe this is not a legitimate critique. This is not an actual criticism. We're commenting. We're commenting, and we're having fun with the news. I understand that people will go, why are you having fun with this news? And I go, because it's the news, and it's the most important news. If it was COVID, I'd be joking about COVID again, ladies and gentlemen. And speaking of COVID and disease in general, let's hop into the rapid fire section of today's headlines. A lot of stuff that you need to know about to keep your media diet healthy that I can't dedicate 3 to 4 paragraphs to, so I'm just going to list it to you briefly or play a clip, like how multiple people are apparently deathly ill from exposure to the biolab, according to court documents.
New court documents allege multiple people became deathly ill after spending time at an illegal biolab inside a Las Vegas home.
Our investigators identified a significant volume of material, including various vials and storage containers with liquids of different colors and compositions.
According to newly released court records, police were tipped off by a former cleaning employee who told investigators she entered the garage, which was usually locked, and found refrigerators, freezers, glass beakers with reddish liquid, and equipment she believed was lab-related, along with a foul, stagnant smell. She told police she and a handyman both got deathly ill days later, suffering breathing issues, extreme fatigue, and muscle aches. She allegedly told police others who lived in the home, renting rooms off of sites like Airbnb, became sick as well. Authorities arrested the property manager, Ori Solomon, who now faces state and federal charges, including improper disposal of hazardous waste tied to biological agents. Investigators say the case may be linked to another illegal biolab discovered in California, allegedly run by a Chinese national arrested in 2023. That defendant
By the way, if this is just 2 that we've caught in the past 2 years, 2023, well, 3 years now, actually. If there's only 2 that we've caught in the last 3 years, how many of these have they sprung up? Like, how many of you are probably living in an apartment building with one of these biolabs? How many of you are living with, in the vicinity of a meth lab? You know what I mean? That's the beauty of America, is that we kind of have this agreement unspokenly that we don't really pay much attention to what the neighbors are up to. However, this is more of a city agreement, I will say. In the rural parts, definitely you know your neighbors a little bit more. The suburbs, yeah, you know your neighbors maybe a little bit more. In the cities, man, you don't know who's renting the unit across from you. You don't know who's whatever, unless you're like one of those tight individuals that likes to get to know your people and whatnot. Most of the people that I try to get to know in my building, they, you know what I mean? They throw coins at you and whatnot if you try to get to know them. So that's all I'm saying. A lot of us, what I'm trying to say is keep your eye out maybe a little bit. If you see somebody carrying a bunch of vials into their house, I'd say maybe just put it into a community concern notice.
Pleaded not guilty and is awaiting trial, but so far officials have not released test results from the seized materials. Now that's been sent to a secure lab in Maryland. Authorities say the investigation is ongoing, and they warn the public there is no known active threat at this time in that neighborhood.
It's scary.
It is very scary. It's frightening to know that this was happening just a few blocks away.
A few blocks away. It's crazy. If you didn't know this, Minnesota caucuses results are showing early frontrunners among the GOP candidates. If you don't know this, Lisa Demuth received 32.02% of the vote. This was when 17,962,000. Wait, no, not 17 million. I'm fucking retarded. 17,962 votes were counted. Lisa Demuth was overwhelmingly the major performer. Kendall Qualls was the second most recipient of the votes. She got 25.41%. Mike Lindell, unfortunately, only received 17.46. Scott Jensen, 6.44. And then a bunch of people before that nobody really knows. But overwhelmingly so, the DFL, with 84% of the participants reporting voting. had Senator Amy Klobuchar leading the strong polls with 79% of the vote. Very, very, very curious. It seems like it's going to be woman versus woman, a matchup I don't think we've ever had in the history of our state, or maybe ever. I don't know that we've ever had this matchup before where it's woman v. woman. We're going to see who's going to lead our state, Lisa Damoth or Amy Klobuchar. It could be a no-nonsense bitch or a no-nonsense bitch. And I love, can I just say it? I love that energy. That's my favorite energy to bring into elections. Anyways, Ukraine peace talks are yielding prisoner exchange. If you didn't know, diplomatic negotiations in Abu Dhabi between Ukraine, Russia, and the United States, with them mediating, have concluded a second round of U.S.-brokered peace talks. No ceasefire has been reached. The parties, though, have agreed to a major exchange of 314 prisoners of war. The first such swap is in months. It's seen as a fragile step towards reducing hostilities in Europe's longest ongoing conflict as of yet. U.S. Democrats push for major ICE reforms. Obviously, in Washington, we have to cover the Democratic lawmakers. They're demanding a lot of sweeping changes to the U.S. immigration and customs enforcement policies amid growing backlash over enforcement actions, including deadly incidents involving federal agents. Yeah, do what you want to do, shake it up, reorder. It's not gonna change the fact that there are still too many people, and we gotta get them out. Through the best means possible. UK political turmoil over key appointment. Interestingly enough, in the United Kingdom, if you don't know, Prime Minister Keir Starmer is publicly backing his chief of staff amid calls from within the Labour to sack him over controversial ambassadorial appointment. Excuse me, goddamn. Whatever. They're having their own issues. In the United States politics, Zohran Mamdani has endorsed Governor Kathy Hochul for re-election in New York, potentially reshaping the Democratic primary landscape and signaling consolidation around the incumbent. Maybe. We don't know where that's going to go. U.S., China, Russia, high-level diplomacy is on global stability. Chinese President Xi Jinping has reportedly spoke with both Russian and U.S. leaders this week to discuss strategic stability, including concerns over Taiwan and broader geopolitical cooperation. They were going to take Taiwan, especially after we expanded our sphere of global influence to the entirety of the Americas. They have an argument for the entirety of the South China Sea. Whatever, they'll make that argument when they eventually take it, probably this year or the next year. I'm guessing it's going to be this year more so than next year because, like Xi Jinping said, it's going to happen under his watch. And I don't know. It seems as though he's consolidating it to where he's lining up for his legacy pretty soon here. Vice President outlines Trump administration's approach to Russia. As you all know, Vice President J.D. Vance, he's outlining President Trump's more nuanced stance towards Russia, acknowledging Russia's invasion of Ukraine was wrongful, but he's emphasizing potential areas for cooperation. That's important to remember. He's a good devil's advocate. That's what he's going to have to be with Peter Thiel on his back when he's the primary pick for the Republican nominee in 2028. Anti-ICE protests, as we all know, they're continuing across the United States. A wave of them are persisting across the nation following the fatal encounters between federal ICE agents and civilians. Demonstrators, particularly large marches in Minneapolis and other cities, are fueling the broader debates around immigration enforcement and political accountability in general for both sides. There's an expiry of the U.S.-Russia nuclear arms treaty. The last of the nuclear arms treaty control agreement between the U.S. and Russia is now expired, removing limits on strategic nuclear weapons and raising global concerns about the renewed arms race. We might be in a new Cold War. I'm very fascinated by it, and I think it's who knows. The UN chief has warned the lapse of is coming at a particularly fragile time of international security. I wouldn't disagree with that. I wouldn't agree with that more, excuse me. Several global political shifts are underway. Japan is holding general elections February 8th with major political stakes for Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's future, and Lebanon has set parliamentary elections for May. Interesting. A lot of people are having elections all over the place because they want to play democracy too. I love it. That's what we want to be exercising globally. I think that we should go ahead and cover our final story. Why shouldn't we, ladies and gentlemen? Let's hop into it. Ooh, Ooh, what is this? A woman has won a malpractice lawsuit over gender surgery as a minor. This is a legal first. It's sending shockwaves through the medical community. A New York jury has awarded $2 million to a 22-year-old woman who sued her former doctors for medical malpractice. The plaintiff, Fox Varian, underwent a double mastectomy at the age of 16 while identifying as a transgender male. Years later, she detransitioned and filed a suit alleging that her psychologist and surgeon rushed her into an irreversible procedure without properly addressing her complex mental health history, which included autism, depression, and eating disorders. You know, this is tragic, and a lot of people are going to go, well, she should have known better. At 16, Jesus fuck, you have a bunch of people, you only have the doctors and the surgeons their word are the only thing. They're God when you're a child, and people will go, she made her choices, she was happy doing it. Because she was 16, and the only thing that she's being taught at that age is that transgenderism is normal, you might be in the wrong body, and we gotta catch it early, and then, hormone blockers and mastectomies might not be such a terrible idea if we're gonna catch it before you fully mature, so that, your masculine features won't set in if you're a guy who wants to identify as a woman. We'll just, we'll pump you full of the estrogen to make sure that you don't actually develop any masculine features, and then you have a micro penis for the rest of your life if you ever want to be a man again, and you don't grow hair properly, and you have a lot of other biological issues that no one wants to talk about, but whatever. It was a 3-week trial in Westchester County. It focused on whether medical providers met the established standard of care. In Varian's legal team argued that the psychologist Dr. Kenneth Einhorn and surgeon Dr. Simon Chin failed to communicate effectively or verify her readiness for surgery. Crucially, the jury heard that Varian had expressed doubts about her gender identity to a separate counselor before the operation, information that the defendants reportedly never followed up on. The jury ultimately found both providers liable for negligence, awarding Varian $1.6 million for pain and suffering and $400,000 for future medical expenses. Beautiful win. And honestly, I'm really happy about this. This is a major win for common sense. This is a major win for people who just go, yeah, wait until they're 18. Wait until they're 18. That's not a hard thing for people to, and even gender blockers, hormone blockers, none of it. You don't get access to none of it until you're 18. None of it. It's unfortunate, but it's how it's going to have to work for this world. It's really, really, you have to avoid cases of butchery. You have to avoid cases like this. If we are going to have people detransitioning, if we're going to have people that are joining groups like Do No Harm, I just want to be honest, we have to address this as a society that it is happening. Double mastectomies regrettably happened to this 16-year-old in the United States, and people would tell you that that's a fantasy maybe a couple of years ago. It's unfortunate. Let's go ahead and just have CBS News tell you that if you don't believe me. That's perfectly fine.
Legal first, a jury in New York awarded a 22-year-old woman $2 million in damages over her gender transition surgery that took place when she was a teenager. The plaintiff accused her psychologist and plastic surgeon of violating standard practices in their fields that led to her receiving a gender transition double mastectomy that she...
How do you do a double mastectomy on a fucking minor? That is crazy. In my mind, I can't, as you've taken the Hippocratic Oath, you've vowed to do no harm. This is, whatever. My opinion doesn't matter. Just continue.
She feels left her disfigured. Benjamin Ryan wrote about the first malpractice verdict against providers of gender-affirming care for minors for the Free Press. He was the only...
Gender-affirming care, every time you hear that, know that it involves, to some extent, medical butchery or at least the delaying of completely natural hormones. That is the only thing that people mean when they refer to gender-affirming care. Now, am I okay with gender-affirming care for people above the age of 18? I really don't care what people over the age of 18 do, and as a matter of fact, I'll call Caitlyn Jenner a beautiful her. I love her. I wanted her to be governor of California. But what I'm saying is she decided to do that when she was like 50. So what I'm saying is, like, give it a minute. People figure out who they are with time. And she broke Kris Jenner's heart, goddammit, and Kris deserves to be sad. She is listen, people say that she doesn't deserve the right to be sad. People will be like, let Caitlyn be whoever they wanted to be. she loved Bruce. She loved Bruce so much, and Caitlyn never gave her the chance to mourn Bruce. She never realized that she stole Bruce from her. And listen, this is fine. Caitlyn is welcome to do whatever she'd like, but she has to understand the pain that really does exist for her ex-wife. It's whatever. Okay, let's continue.
Reporter to attend the entire 3-week trial. We should know minors for the Free Press. He was the only reporter to attend the entire 3-week trial. We should note Paramount, the parent company of CBS News, owns the Free Press. For more on this, Benjamin joins us now here in Studio 57. He is an independent reporter who covers youth gender medicine, including on his Substack. So, Benjamin, let's go ahead and talk about the verdict itself. What stood out to you about the jury's reasoning here?
Well, it's hard to know exactly what they were thinking, but what they were convinced by was that the psychologist and the plastic surgeon didn't communicate well with one another, and the psychologist in particular was faulted for being sloppy and essentially being rushed in his care of this girl. It was only about 11 months between the time where she first socially transitioned at the age of 15 and a half, and she ultimately had her breasts removed at age 16 and a half.
What do you think that this verdict will mean for future lawsuits of this kind?
Well, I've certainly spoken with other litigators, other lawyers in this field, and they do feel that this will embolden others to join the field. Others have been waiting on the sidelines. So there are about 27 other similar cases that I've been able to tabulate. Some of them run into statutes of limitations where there's a short period of time after which you can file a lawsuit. But there's one coming up in Missouri in August, and also a very big one, Chloe Colt, probably the most famous detransitioner. Her trial against Kaiser Permanente will be in California in April.
What was it like in the courtroom?
It was very powerful. I think in particular we've heard a lot about this talk about suicide, about that these treatments and surgeries prevent suicide. And to hear this mother to say that she was opposed to the surgery from the start, that she was browbeaten by the psychologist, in her words, and to ultimately consenting even though she never wanted it. And then we heard from Dr. Lauren Schechter, and he's the head of gender-affirming surgery at Rush University in Chicago, and he said he's also, by the way, the president-elect of the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, and he said that these surgeries are not suicide prevention. So that was a very powerful moment.
And we should mention also that it is a very small number of people who do end up detransitioning, right?
The numbers are unknown. Maybe 5 to 10%, but there's not enough research for us to really be able to tell at this time.
Okay, Benjamin Ryan, thank you.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but we have to give voice to the people that do detransition, no matter how sparingly they may exist, as the transgender community would like to claim. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an unfortunate situation, but yeah, hopefully it will be a common sense story for us all to learn through this beautiful Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I had such a wonderful time gathering these stories for you. As per the usual, you know what to do. If you liked it, you can subscribe, or you can like it. You can do either. Or, you ring the bell if you want the notifications. We upload every day, every weekday. We got one more episode this week, Friday. I can't wait for it. In the meantime, though, I will catch you tomorrow. This has been your Brain on Air with Ollie Bolt Larson. Thank you so very much for listening, and bye-bye.